night was cold in Moscow, the great city of Russia. The air outside was icy, sharp, and white clouds of breath rose from everyone who walked through the snowy streets. But inside the Grand Leaky Arena, it was the opposite. Inside, the place was hot, loud, and alive, like a giant beating heart. Thousands of people filled the huge building. Their voices echoed off the metal roof and steel beams high above. It sounded like thunder trapped in a box. Everywhere you looked, you saw Russian flags. Big flags, small flags, flags tied to people's shoulders like capes. They waved back and forth, red and white, like an endless sea moving in a storm. People shouted, clapped, whistled, and sang. Some stomped their feet on the metal floors, making the ground shake. The noise was so loud it felt like it could break through the walls. Bright lights hung from the top of the arena, shining down on one special place, the championship mat in the middle. This mat was no ordinary mat. It was where fighters had battled all night. It was marked with sweat and dust, and even little scratches from shoes. It was a mat that carried scars, like a warrior itself. Every fight that happened on it left a memory behind. Tonight was about Sambo, the Russian martial art. Sambo was tough. Sambo was strong. No dancing, no flipping, no movie tricks. Just raw power, sharp moves, and the kind of throws and holds that could end a fight in seconds. The crowd loved it. They roared every time someone was slammed to the ground, and they screamed when a fighter twisted another into a submission. To them, Sambo was more than sport. It was glorious. It was pride. It was Russia's own creation. And at the center of this world, standing tall and breathing heavy, was Viktor Dragunov. Viktor Dragunov was not just any fighter. He was the champion, the undefeated king of Sambo. People didn't just see him as a man. They saw him as a symbol of Russia's strength. He was huge. His shoulders were broad like walls. His chest rose and fell like a bull's, and his hands were big and rough, covered in scars from all the battles he had fought. Every scar told a story. Every broken knuckle a reminder of someone he had beaten. Just minutes before, Viktor had destroyed his opponent. The opponent wasn't weak. He was a strong fighter from Georgia, a decorated man with medals and victories of his own. But against Viktor, he looked small. Viktor grabbed him, lifted him, and slammed him onto the mat so hard that the man couldn't even stand up afterward. Helpers had to carry the poor fighter out while the crowd screamed in joy. When the referee raised Viktor's hand, the noise in the arena was like an earthquake. People jumped, clapped, waved flags, and shouted his name. Viktor stood there, chest rising, sweat shining under the lights, his eyes wild like a lion who had just hunted. Then, someone pushed a microphone into his hand. Viktor lifted it, and his voice filled every corner of the building. It was loud, raw, and powerful. "This," he shouted, "is the greatest fighting art in the world. Sambo. No tricks, no fancy kicks, no movie magic. Just strength, just power, just dominance." The crowd exploded with cheers. Some people banged their feet on the floor like drums. Others waved their flags harder. Some chanted his name. "Viktor, Viktor, Viktor." Viktor smirked, enjoying every second. He was on top of the world. But then Viktor's eyes moved. He scanned the people in the crowd. He looked past the cheering fans, past the waving flags, past the stomping feet. And then he saw someone in the VIP seats. It was Jason Statham. Jason didn't cheer. He didn't clap. He didn't smile. He just sat there in his black coat, leaning forward a little. His face was still. His eyes were sharp, focused. He looked different from everyone else. He didn't need to move to be noticed. He didn't need to shout to be heard. His very presence was enough to make people pay attention. Viktor saw him, and his lip curled. He thought, "Here's my chance to make the crowd laugh even more." He raised his thick arm and pointed straight at Jason. His voice boomed again, this time with mockery. "Look there," he shouted. "A Hollywood star. A man who plays tough in movies. But let me tell you something. One throw from me, and he would break like glass." The crowd roared with laughter. Some slapped their friends on the back. Others whistled and jeered. A group of fans even pretended to throw fake punches like in movies, mocking Jason. To them, Jason was just an actor, Someone who lived in a pretend world of cameras and scripts, not in the real world of sweat and pain. The arena filled with joy at Jason's expense. But Jason did not move. He just sat there. But then, slowly, he lifted his eyes. The look he gave Victor was colder than Moscow's winter. It wasn't a look for show. It wasn't acting. It was the kind of look that came from real fights, from hard training, from nights when survival mattered more than applause. It was the look of someone who had scars hidden under his coat, scars that no movie makeup could create. Slowly, like waves pulling back from the shore, the laughter in the arena started to fade. People stopped mocking. Their voices trailed off. They turned their heads, looking at Jason, then back at Victor. The silence grew. Victor felt it. He didn't like it. His smirk faltered for a moment, but he quickly forced it back. He raised the mic again and sneered. "What? You don't like jokes, Mr. Hollywood? Are you afraid? Or maybe the cameras aren't rolling, so you can't fight?" Some nervous laughter spread in the crowd, but it was weak. Most people stayed quiet, waiting. Jason still didn't move. But the air in the arena was now heavy, thick, like before a storm. Then Jason stood up. The sound of his chair scraping against the floor was louder than any cheer. Everyone turned their heads, eyes wide, mouths open. Jason stood tall, calm and slow. He adjusted his coat, straightened it, and began to walk toward the ring. Each step was measured, quiet, but it felt like the ticking of a clock before an explosion. The arena was silent. Thousands of people held their breath. The only sound was Jason's footsteps and the faint hum of the lights above. He reached the side of the ring. Without a word, without rushing, he climbed up onto the apron. Then he stepped inside. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't laugh. They just watched, frozen. Now Jason stood face to face with Victor. Victor stared, trying to make his eyes strong, trying to intimidate him. But Jason's gaze didn't move, didn't shake. It was steady, unblinking like steel. Finally, Jason spoke. His voice was low, calm, but it carried across the entire arena, as if he had whispered into every ear. "You've had your fun," he said. "Now let's see if you can throw me out." The referee, eyes wide, quickly whispered into his earpiece. Something big was about to happen. The announcer's voice trembled at first. He sounded shocked, like he couldn't believe what was happening. But soon his voice grew louder and brighter, filled with excitement. "Ladies and gentlemen," he shouted, "this is not on the schedule. This is a special surprise. An exhibition fight. In the blue corner, the world champion, Viktor Dragunov. And in the red corner, Jason Statham." The crowd went wild at the name. Some laughed, thinking it was just for fun. Some shouted in excitement, not sure what to expect. Jason Statham, the movie star, in a real fight, against Victor, the toughest wrestler in Russia. The bell rang. Ding, ding, ding. Victor exploded out of his corner like a raging bull. His huge body moved fast, his muscles flexing, sweat flying from his forehead under the hot lights. He rushed straight at Jason with raw power, aiming to grab his arms and throw him down like a rag doll. But Jason wasn't there. At the very last moment, Jason slipped to the side with cat-like speed. His boots barely made a sound on the mat. Victor's giant hands swiped through the air and caught nothing. The champion almost lost his balance from his own charge. The crowd gasped all at once. A loud "oh" filled the arena. Some people laughed nervously, but others leaned forward in their seats, realizing Jason wasn't just standing there like an actor. He was really fighting. Victor spun around fast, his face red with anger. He lunged again, swinging his arms, trying to grab Jason's coat. But Jason was ready this time. He blocked hard with his arm, then slammed his elbow down into Victor's guard. Crack! The sound was sharp and nasty, bone hitting bone. People in the front rows winced and covered their mouths. Victor grunted, more annoyed than hurt, but his eyes narrowed. Now he knew Jason wasn't just play acting. Victor snarled, dropping low. He tried a sweeping leg hook, aiming to knock Jason off his feet. His big legs swung with power, kind that could break balance in an instant. But Jason's answer came fast. He stepped back just enough and fired a low kick of his own. His shin smacked into Victor's thigh. precise and strong, like a hammer hitting wood. Smack! Victor stumbled back a step, his face twisting in both pain and surprise. His thigh burned. He looked down for just a moment, shocked at how sharp the strike had been. The audience gasped again, louder this time. People who had been laughing at the idea of Jason fighting now stopped laughing completely. This wasn't a movie punch. This was real. Victor's pride flared up. He was the champion of Russia, the strongest man in the arena. He could not let a movie actor embarrass him in front of his people. With rage boiling in his chest, he lunged forward again. This time, he caught Jason's arm. His big hand locked onto Jason's wrist like an iron clamp. With a roar that shook the rafters, Victor heaved. His massive body bent and twisted as he lifted Jason off the ground, preparing to slam him down with bone-crushing force. The crowd rose from their seats, excitement filling the air. For a heartbeat, Jason was in the air, weightless, about to come crashing down hard. But Jason wasn't helpless. As his body fell, he twisted midair, rolling smoothly as he hit the mat. Instead of crashing, he flowed with the fall, bounced, and sprang right back up to his feet. He landed with perfect balance, like a panther leaping from a tree. The crowd shouted in shock. Some people clapped without even realizing it. They had never seen someone escape Victor's slam like that. Before Victor could even react, Jason spun his body and whipped his leg around. His heel smashed into Victor's ribs with a loud, thundering crack. Thud! Victor staggered backward, clutching his side. The pain stole his breath, his chest heaving as he tried to draw air. Jason didn't give him time to recover. He moved like lightning. His fist shot forward, jab, jab, hook. His arm snapping fast, sharp and precise. Then his legs whipped low again, striking Victor's thighs and shins. Smack, crack, wham. Each hit was clean and accurate, and Victor couldn't block them all. The champion swung back with wild, desperate punches, but Jason dodged smoothly, ducking low, stepping aside, countering with more quick blows. The crowd was no longer laughing. They were no longer smiling. They were standing now, eyes wide, roaring with each strike Jason landed. The air shook with their cheers and shouts. Victor's face twisted with fury. He was not just fighting Jason now. He was fighting to save his honor. Growling deep in his chest, he launched one final, desperate charge. His arms spread wide, trying to smother Jason with sheer size and raw power. But Jason read the move like a book. At the very last second, Jason pivoted on his foot, ducked low, and hooked Victor's arm. With perfect timing, Jason threw his whole body into the move and flipped Victor clean over his shoulder. Boom! Victor's body crashed onto the mat with an earth-shaking slam. The sound echoed through the arena like a cannon firing. The ground seemed to shake beneath the crowd's feet. Jason didn't waste a second. He dropped low, locking his arm tight around Victor's neck. His grip squeezed like steel cables, unbreakable and strong. Victor thrashed wildly, roaring like a beast, clawing at Jason's arm, twisting and kicking. But Jason's chokehold only tightened, calm and controlled. Victor's face turned red, his breath rasping. Seconds later, Victor's hand slapped the mat. Tap, tap, tap. He gave up. The referee rushed in, pulling Jason away. Jason released the hold immediately and stood up, calm and steady. Victor lay on the mat, gasping for air, his chest heaving. His pride, once so mighty, was shattered. The once booming crowd fell silent. Jason stood tall in the center of the ring. His chest rose and fell calmly, his face steady, not smiling, not taunting. He didn't pump his fists or shout in victory. Instead, he simply looked down at Victor and gave him a small, respectful nod, recognizing him as a fighter. Then Jason turned and walked out of the ring. For a long moment, the silence stayed heavy. Then the silence broke. The crowd erupted in deafening applause. The arena shook with the sound of clapping, shouting, and stomping feet. Flags waved high, people roared, and chants rolled across the stadium like thunder. Stomp, stomp, stomp. That night, Moscow had celebrated Viktor Dragunov as their champion, the strongest man of their country. But history would remember something greater. It would remember the night Jason Statham walked into the ring, faced a national hero on his own soil, and proved to the world that he wasn't just a Hollywood star. He was the real deal. Wow, what a journey. I'd love to hear what you thought. Drop your reactions in the comments below. If this adventure left you smiling, inspired, or just itching for more, make sure to hit subscribe and tap that bell so you never miss the next story. Thanks for coming along on this ride. And remember, stay curious, stay brave, and keep exploring the world around you. Your next adventure is just around the corner.